Today we'll be talking about value proposition. Let's talk about the purpose of value proposition at first, okay, or the purpose of the journey of opening a business in general. When you open a business, at the end of the day, you're providing either a product or a service or some kind of value-driven output towards your customers, towards your clients, okay, and that kind of product or service is faced by a pain and a gain. What is the pain? The pain is the fear of change, the inertia of people having to be used to using a specific type of product or to be using a specific, for example, brand, or to do things at a certain way, and you're here to change the whole story or change the whole approach of how to solve stuff. That was one pain that we face as entrepreneurs. And the gain that we might have, or another pain, let's say, that we might have, is that we have a lot of competition in the market. 99.9% of the times, entrepreneurs or business owners or business people will come and bring something to the market that is not new, practically not new. Okay? So we have a lot of competition in the market. How do we differentiate ourselves and how do we grab that kind of market share from the competitors and for us to position ourselves within the market in a strong position? Now, this is the fear and this is the pain that a lot of people do. Now, what do we do to overcome that fear? What do we do to overcome that competition spectrum, let's say, is that we offer the customers or the potential clients, the potential customers, with a gain, with something that would make them overcome that kind of fear, something that would make them comfortable dealing with this, something that would make them happy taking our product or taking our service. So this is where value proposition come. Okay, a value proposition is a very critical step. Is a very critical step to build a company. We have at the moment are copy paste. A lot of companies that we've seen at the moment are just mimicking and doing exactly the same thing that other companies are doing. And there is a huge market share for them, no doubt about that. But at the end of the day, doing something special, adding value towards the product or service that we're delivering is an important thing. And this is what we're going to talk about, and that is value proposition. Now, what is a value proposition? Value proposition in English is that competitive edge, or let's say that is what makes us special when compared to competitors. In Arabic, هو العرض عرض الميزة التنافسية, as we say. Okay, so what is that thing that makes a product or service special and makes it stand out within the market, where customers come and they clearly say that this was what we expected and this is the outcome. Okay, and this is the thing that we're going to talk about today. Value proposition is basically taking on your customer persona, your customer segment, your customer demographics, and matching it with an outcome that we build within a business. We'll give an example we'll give multiple examples in the coming slides so that you be aware exactly of what I'm talking about. Now, we talked about pains and gains. If you know, now, when I talk about pain, it's basically the struggle, the problems, the challenges, the pain, that the suffer that customers go through, and the gain are the solutions, or the outcomes, or the value proposition that we will be providing through our business. Now, it's very important for you to know that the value proposition is not just a slogan. It's not just something that we just do, we just say. It's not a description about a product or some certain features within a company or how you see yourself different. It's not about how I portray myself as a business, okay, and how I see myself different than other competitors. No. The value proposition is all about the customer. The value proposition is all about the client and the exact demographics that we are targeting as business owners. So it's not about the company or the product. It's always about your audience. But it's important for us to determine what is the one thing that determines or decides whether people will care to learn more about our brand, our solution, our product, or service. If we define what that is exactly, that is our value proposition. Let's move forward. Whoever was there in the previous workshop, if you remember, we've discussed the business model canvas. The business model canvas is what defines how the company generates money, how the company does operations, and what is the revenue streams and cost structure and multiple other things as well. Now, two things, two segments exactly within that business model canvas that we're going to focus on today, and these are the value proposition and customer segment. Now let's talk about the value proposition canvas. This is where we define our value proposition. We dig down deep inside our value proposition to see exactly what are the things that we will be crafting, we will be planning, we will be drafting in order for us, and we'll be designing in order for us to match the pain, match the suffer, match the challenges that our demographics and our customer demographics and customer segment are facing. Now, the value proposition canvas is consisting of two major parts. The first part is called the observe part, and the second part is the design part. The observe part is basically related and basically talks about the customer demographics. We'll talk about what the customer is facing, who is the customer, what are the challenges that the customer is facing, what is the job that he's trying to do, what are the gains and what are the pains that he's looking out to see or is facing right now when doing a certain job. And the value proposition section is how we as a company are going to design solutions that would fulfill the pains, recap on the gains, and help the customer complete that specific job that he's doing. We'll understand a little bit more going forward, and we will be discussing with examples as well. Now let's dig deep inside the value proposition canvas, because this is one of the tools, okay, that were invented for us to craft and for us to know exactly what our value proposition is as a business. Now, let's take the first part, which is the observe part. As you can see, the observe part is the user map that represents our customer segment. Follow the mouse on the screen so that you know exactly where I'm talking about, because there are a lot of things written all over. Now, the observe part are consisting of three major parts: the customer jobs, the pains, and the gains. We'll talk about them one by one. Now, when we talk about, first of all, the customer jobs are the tasks, the problems, and the needs that that customer is trying to achieve. For example, if you have a blender, okay? If you have a blender, the job is for you to blend things together. For example, create a cocktail, create, for example, a mousse, create a sauce, a dessert, a dressing, whatever it is. You need a blender to do that. That's the job that that specific device is meant to do. So these jobs or these customer jobs can be functional, which is similar to a blender, for example. These can be social, which is related to your relationship with the outside world and how you feel. And this could be emotional as well. They have a functional, social, and an emotional intent. Okay, so these overall can be something that is practical, something that's functional. We're dealing with the device, we're dealing with the computer, we're dealing with the screen, we're dealing with mobile phones. These are functional. Some of them have social. How we portray ourselves using, for example, Photoshop is not only functional, it has an emotion, it has a social aspect as well. That, for example, if we're going to post something over the social media, we need Photoshop to amend some kind of bits and pieces and parts of that picture in order for us to showcase ourselves as a certain image within the social media platforms. And this is also connected to how we feel about ourselves when posting within the social media. So it has a functional, a social, and an emotional intent all together. But some of the jobs that we require uh, will target a specific aspect of it. So this is customer jobs. Let's take the pains. The pains within, let's take Photoshop as an example. If you've used Photoshop or not, you'll be able to relate to what I'm saying. Let's take the pains. The pains are basically anything that annoys the customer either before, during, or after getting a job done. Now, our job before the before the Photoshop is for us, or the pain, let's say, before the Photoshop is that we're irritated by a specific object within the photo that we want to remove, or a specific person that is standing behind of us that's actually ruining the photo. That's the pain. Okay. During the Photoshop, if we're using the Photoshop and we see that the Photoshop is incapable of achieving a specific let's say goal that I'm trying to do. There is a specific let's say object, and the Photoshop is not able to remove it clearly. Okay, that's a pain. If there is a specific tool that is available in another program, another software, not there in Photoshop, that's a pain. I'm irritated because I have to move between softwares, I have to go and use different tools, and I have to use different websites in order for me to achieve what I want to achieve. After that, after using, for example, the Photoshop, if the Photoshop was unable to save the files as PSD files or as Photoshop files, so that after the after exporting the picture, I cannot actually go back to the source file and edit the photos, that's a pain. So these are all the pains that any customer faces before, during, and after getting a job done. So that's the customer jobs, that's the pains. What are the gains? My outcome that I expect from Photoshop is to remove the file. Now, this is something that I expect. It's the gains is basically what the customer requires, accept, desire, and would be surprised by. For example, if sometimes if we're using a specific device and we don't know a specific feature about that device, there are a lot of new things that comes up in iPhone every day, and we get surprised by. These are value propositions. Okay, so what are these are gains? What's the job of that specific product or that specific service that we're doing? Okay, and what do we expect of that product or service to do? And how much that product or service might surprise us into introducing new things that would make life easier. So these are the customer jobs, the pains, and the gains. So let's talk about the design, and then we'll talk about the correlation between the two. The design, let me see. Okay. So the design, there are products and services, there are pain relievers, and there are gain creators. So whenever we design any product, at the end of the day, we should see when it comes to, let's go to products and services first. We go the same order. Whenever it comes to the products and services, we should know that what are the products and services that would help get that specific functional, social, and emotional job done that the customer wants to do. In the case of Photoshop, for example, removing an object within a photo, removing a person within a photo. When it comes to pains, how that product that we're designing at the moment or service is going to alleviate specific customer pains that occurs before interacting with the product, during the interaction with the product, and post to the interaction of the product or getting the job done. And number three is the gain creators. At the end of the day, we are the business owners. We should always introduce something new to the market. We should always introduce something new to our products and service. And that's how we sustain the interactivity, and that's how we sustain the customer attention. And that's how we sustain having more customers and having more people talk about our products. So that's how the products and service are going to create customer gain. That's how it's going to add value. And this is the core of value proposition. How we add new value to the market. How we take something that is already there and we add a specific value to it that would make us different within the market today. So if you notice, we have three things within the value proposition canvas, and every part of the observe and every part of the design is related to a specific part within each other. Okay, so the products, the products and services are directly connected to the customer's jobs. The gain creators are connected to the gains, and the pain relievers are connected to the pains. Let me go back and discuss the correlation between both. Whenever it is there, if you were there in the previous, let's say, lecture or previous workshop that we have delivered about business canvas, we've mentioned something. We've mentioned about the steps of initiating or opening a business or thinking about a business. The first thing that we look whenever we decide to open a business, to open a startup, to do something within the market, the first thing that we look are the challenges that people face within that specific market as per the customer demographics that we're targeting. What are the challenges? What are the problems? What are the needs within that specific market? That's number one, or that we call it step zero. Step number one is to find an idea or find a solution that would solve these challenges and these problems. And step number two is step zero, step one. Step number two is for you to create the business model canvas for us to understand what is the business going to be? What are the business activities? Who are our partners? How much is going to cost? How much are we potentially going to generate? What is the who are our customers? How are we going to communicate with the customers? How the customer wants us to communicate to him or her with. So that's the business model canvas. The third thing that we move forward to do is the value proposition canvas. For us to say, okay, now we came up with an idea, we came up with a solution for that specific challenge, for that specific pain. Okay, now how are we going to make that challenge be solved in a different way? How can we make that kind of product or service stand out within the market? That's the core of the value proposition. So the observe is for us to research and check and see exactly what's going on in the market, see the customer segment, what is the customer mainly needing to do, see what the customer needs to do, what is the pains that the customer is currently facing, and how potentially is he going to be happy if we introduced some gains within the market and within that say aspect of the solution itself. So that's the correlation between the two. We always first observe, see what's going on in the market today, see our competitors, what are they doing, what is available within the market today, and then design a solution that makes us as a business stand out. So that's the correlation between the two. Now, moving forward, the goal of value proposition is to create a substantive value proposition. What do I mean by substantive? Substantive means tangible, something we can feel, something we can measure, something we can test, something we can actually see the value within the market when we introduce it to the market. That demonstrates exactly what are the challenges, and we understand the needs and motivations of that specific customer, and gives us a measurable benefit for the user. So it's always something that is substantive, tangible, we can test, we can feel, we can see, we can measure. So that is value proposition. Let's give examples. A value proposition example, for example, Slack. So Slack is basically a chatting software that is built for the very purpose of having business members or employees connected together. So the value proposition here is credibility, productivity, as they try to be more productive and with the least efforts possible, because they have a lot of extensions, they have a lot of plugins, they have a lot of services within Slack, and a lot of softwares around the world can be integrated directly with Slack. That's the value proposition. Software, chatting softwares were available way before Slack. But what Slack came to introduce is a specific aspect that they would like to define as their value proposition. Apple, for example, Apple's value proposition is not only focused on creating a different product, not only focused on creating a special product, but they focus specifically on the unique customer experience. And the customer experience here is uh, includes the UI and UX that Apple has, includes the iTunes structure, includes the iCloud, and how much beneficial it is for users to move from one phone to the other and for them to refer back to their details and data and everything available on iCloud. That's the value proposition that Apple introduced within the market, because mobile phones were there way before Apple. Smartphones were there way before Apple. But what Apple introduced made it stand out within the market and stand out as the biggest technology company in the world. Uber, for example. Uber, everyone knows Uber. Uber's value proposition is about offering convenience to customers. I don't want to go and search for taxis. I don't want to go and look for someone to take me from one place to the other. All I have to do is just open my mobile application. With a click, I can have someone come to me. That is convenience. So that's the overall value of the overall value proposition that Uber, Slack, or Apple makes. This is an example. Okay, this is an example of the value proposition canvas. Let's take the customer. We have major gym chain that is across Bahrain, for example. Okay, so what is the customer job? The customer's job is that the customer wants to work out every day. That's that's the functional aspect of the job. He wants to get compliments. That's the social aspect of the job. He wants to feel proud about himself. That's the emotional aspect of the job. So the customer jobs can collect all three aspects all together within within one product. Okay, so what's the program? What's the pain? The programs that he's encountered within different gym chains are actually too intense and not for him, and it takes a lot of time and gets him home back exhausted. He cannot be productive, he cannot do anything else, so the programs are too intense. What are the gains that this customer is looking forward to? He's looking forward to have an easy let's say easy road or an easy path towards getting access to the gym. So this is the customer. After analyzing the market, after talking to different customers and talking to hundreds of customers, this is the market. This is what they want. They want to work out, get compliments, feel proud about themselves. They don't want a very intense program, and they want to have an easy access towards the gyms. So it gets us towards the product design. If we're going to fulfill all these customer jobs, pains, and gains, we have to do the following. We have to make the product available in many locations and have many multiple workout programs to fulfill the need of multiple people and multiple needs across the customer demographics that we have assigned. What are the pain relievers? If the program is too intense, we will have a low intensity program available for you to get what you need of the gym and then leave, go back home and be productive and be there with your family. What are the gain creators? If you want an easy access, we'll spread the gym for as many locations as there is in Bahrain, and we'll have it close by the let's say the living areas and the areas with villas and homes and houses and apartments and so. This is the breakdown of the value proposition canvas. Okay, one last thing I'll leave you with, and that is the copy, paste, innovate. Today, it's with all the technology that's there, and with all the inventions and innovations and businesses that is there, and the awareness of entrepreneurship, it's very hard, and you'll be very lucky to come up with something that is unique across the whole world. It's very hard, okay, and it's nearly close to impossible for many people to create something new to the market. So we always follow that specific module that you see on the screen, and that is copy paste innovate. We copy paste businesses. Kalo, for example, in Bahrain is a copy paste, but innovate. Uh, for example, if you look at different Slack is a copy paste innovate model. So we copy paste, but we bring something new to the market that is not completely new as in a solution, not a whole solution that is new in the market, not a new technology, not a new innovation, not a new patent, not a new intellectual property, and so, but we bring a specific small aspect into the market that is considered new, considered with high value, considered as a value proposition, as a unique selling proposition. To have this, and that is all there in the market, and I know that, but we have that one thing that is not there in the market yet, and we have the technology that offers you the ability to achieve it.